We often fear that in order to achieve something new, to become someone new, we have to abandon everything that we are. But in fact, that's not how it works. Change can happen plank by plank, board by board, habit by habit. And gradually, you can become someone new. And so if you can change your habits, you can change your life.
지난 영상에서 아주 작은 습관의 힘 저자 제임스 클리어의 습관 형성 4가지 단계 중 1단계 알아차림을 알아보았습니다. 이어서 이번 영상에서는 나머지 단계를 다루며 습관의 변화를 통해 인생을 바꿀 수 있는 방법을 소개합니다.
Stage 2, wanting. One of the most overlooked drivers of habits and human behavior is our physical environment. And this is an interesting insight about our desires. Your environment often influences them. We want things simply because they are an option, right? Simply because they are in front of us at the time.
두 번째 단계에서는 환경이 습관과 욕구에 어떤 영향을 미치는지를 강조합니다. 아무 생각이 없더라도 눈에 보이면 더 하고 싶고 그쪽으로 이끌리는 게 사실인 것 같습니다. 동생이 라면 먹을래? 라고 물었을 때 분명 먹을 생각 없었는데 라면을 끓여서 가져오면 한 입만 하게 되는 심리가 제임스 클리어는 이 점을 이용해서 좋은 습관을 더 많이 쉽게 할 수 있게 하고 나쁜 습관을 힘들게 함으로써 좋은 습관을 형성할 수 있는 방법을 알려줍니다.
Thankfully, you don't have to be the victim of your environment. You can also be the architect of it. You can decide to design something to make your good behaviors easier and your bad behaviors harder. So, when it comes to habits, if you want to practice your guitar more frequently, put it right in the middle of your living room so that you run across it all the time. If you want to read more, when you make your bed in the morning, take the book you want to read, put it on top of the pillow. When you come back that night, pick it up, read a few pages, go to sleep. Many of our desires are simply shaped because we have an environment that shapes us in that way.
해야 할 것들은 눈에 보이는 곳에 놓음으로 행동하고 싶게 하는 것. 아주 그럴듯하게 들리지만 해야겠다 마음먹은 며칠 동안 열심히 하고 얼마 안 하게 되더라고요. 눈앞에 있어도 걸리적거린다고 치우거나 보여도 안 본 척 눈을 돌려버린다든지요. 또 하지 말라고 숨겨놓은 것들은 어떻게든 악착같이 찾아내고요. 습관이 이렇게나 무섭습니다. 근데 이걸 고치는 법을 알려줍니다.
Stage 3, doing. The important insight here, especially for habits, is that in the beginning, the most important thing is just to shut up and put your reps in. Just make sure that you hone the skill, right? And you can start to think of it, the way that I like to think of it is that any outcome that you wish to achieve is just a point along the spectrum of repetitions. So if you have few reps to more reps, and you can imagine an easy goal, a moderate goal, a hard goal, the more reps that you put in, the more likely you are to achieve that goal. Now, what I like to say is you should optimize for the starting line, not the finish line, right? So often when we think about habits, goals, routines, achievements, it's all about the milestone. We think about how much weight we want to lose, how much money we want to earn, how many subscribers we want to have. It's all fixed on the finish line. But instead, if you can optimize for the starting line and make it as easy as possible to get started and get your reps in, often the outcomes just come as a natural result.
입 다물고 무조건 반복. 그렇게 하기 위해서 시작하는 것을 쉽게 만들어야 한다. 다이어트를 예로 들어 다이어트 시작할 때 엄격한 식단 관리, 힘든 운동 계획을 세웁니다. 이것은 시작을 너무 어렵게 합니다. 하다 지쳐 나가 떨어지지요. 가뜩이나 살도 안 빠지는데 하기도 힘들면 무조건 중도 포기합니다. 대신 쉽게 시작해볼까요? 하루 5분 걷기, 팔굽혀펴기 2개 하기. 이렇게 목표를 설정하고 쉬운 목표를 설정하고 꾸준히 하다 보면 성취감도 생기고 목표를 조금씩 높여가며 도전을 점점 즐기게 될 것입니다. 결과적으로 목표 달성이 자연스럽게 따라오겠네요. 마저 들어보겠습니다.
Okay, stage 4, liking. The only reason that we repeat behaviors is because we enjoy them, because we like the reward. If we don't enjoy the experience along the way, we're unlikely to stick with it. And that means that you need to figure out ways to bring a reward into the present moment because good habits have a problem. And that problem is that for good habits, the immediate consequence is there. There's a cost that happens in the moment, but the reward is often delayed. So you need to figure out how to bring the reward into the present moment to stick to a good habit. And someone else who's going to be speaking here, Seth Godin, had a very nice little quote about this where he said, the best way to change long-term behavior is with short-term feedback. And one way to think about that is that long-term behaviors, sticking with writing for years on end or going to the gym and so on, they have those delayed consequences. So you need a way to enjoy it in the moment. So here's what I think you should do. Get a wall calendar where you can see every day of the year mapped out on it. And then any day that you do your task of writing jokes for 15 minutes, I want you to just put an X on that day. And you'll have a couple false starts here and there, but at some point you're going to get a little bit of a chain going, right? You get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days in a row. And at that point, your only goal becomes to don't break the chain. Doesn't matter how good or how bad the jokes are. Doesn't matter if it makes it into your material. Just don't break the chain. What's interesting about this is that by measuring your progress, you get an immediate reward in the moment, right? The reward of like having a great stand-up routine 40 days from now or 40 weeks from now or whatever is not, it's so delayed that you need something in the moment that makes you feel good. So if you do those 15 minutes, you can cross that off. That's a way to get an immediate hit, a little bit of a reward by tracking it. We often fear that in order to achieve something new, to become someone new, we have to abandon everything that we are. But in fact, that's not how it works. Change can happen plank by plank, board by board, habit by habit. And gradually, you can become someone new. With consistency and repetition, you can actually change not only your results, but actually your identity. Is because the more evidence that we have for a belief, the more likely we are to believe it. So if you go to church every Sunday for 20 years, you believe that you are religious. If you study Spanish every Thursday night for 20 minutes, you believe that you are studious. The actions that you take provide evidence for who you are. And it's not that habits matter more necessarily on an individual basis. Each moment in life matters. But what ends up happening is that over the broad span of time, things that you do once or twice fade away, and things that you do time after time, day after day, week after week, accumulate the bulk of the evidence for what you believe about yourself. And so every action that you take is actually a vote for the type of person that you want to become. If you want to become someone new, then you can take a new action and begin to accumulate evidence for that identity, for that belief about yourself. And that the more votes that you cast, the more likely you are to win the election. You don't need to be unanimous. You don't have to be perfect all the time. You just need to have the body of work. So true change is actually not behavior change, it's not results change, it's not process change, it's identity change. The goal is not to read a book, it's to become a reader. The goal is not to write a book or write an article, it's to become a writer. The goal is not to run a marathon, it's to become a runner, to become a type of person, to develop an identity. And the way to being something or becoming someone is through doing something. So every time you sit down to write, every time you practice that habit, you are being a writer. Every time you play a sport, you're being an athlete. Every time you practice painting or music or whatever, you are being an artist. And habits are not only the method through which we achieve external measures of success, like losing weight or earning more money or meditating and reducing stress. They are also the path through which we achieve internal change and actually become someone new. They're the path through which we forge the identity that we have, the deepest beliefs we have about ourselves, our sense of self.
해야 할 일을 했을 때 표시하며 뿌듯해하고 또 그것을 어느 정도 유지했을 때 즉각적으로 보상함으로써 목표 달성 과정 자체를 즐긴다면 그냥 하는 것보다 훨씬 가벼운 마음으로 좋은 습관을 형성할 수 있을 것 같습니다. 또 이런 변화를 위해 행동할 때마다 나는 작가다, 나는 예술가다, 나는 박사다, 나는 운동선수다, 나는 부자다, 나는 성우다, 나는 외국인이다. 나는 번역가다. 습관이 변하는 것은 외적인 변화와 성취도 있지만 내적인 정체성의 변화로 인해 새로운 사람이 될 수 있습니다.
So if you can change your habits, you can change your life. Thank you.
영상이 좋았다면 좋아요 눌러주시고 별로라면 별로라고 댓글 남겨주세요. 구독은 괜찮습니다. 끝까지 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.